morning, everybody. First of all, thank you for being here. I'd like to welcome the Minister of Tourism and the new CEO of the Bermuda Tourism Authority, Bill Hanbury. The purpose of today actually is not a press conference. It's really a press briefing, which is around the table in the temporary headquarters of the Bermuda Tourism Authority to have what I would call an interactive, informal chat. Get to know the CEO, get to know his background, why he's here, and obviously any questions that you might have on the Tourism Authority. This has been a long time coming, but I have to tell you that Bill jumped together very quickly, put his life together, and came here almost at the drop of a hat after we reached our agreement. But really, I'd like to hand it over to the Minister of Tourism, the Honorable Sean Crockwell, to begin the introduction of Bill.
Sure.
Minister?
Thank you, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I just want to say that the government is extremely excited about where we are with the Bermuda Tourism Authority. It's been a lot of work. I would like to congratulate the chairman, David Dodwell, for the time and the progress that he has made to date. We are also very thrilled to have as our first Chief Executive Officer, Mr. William Hanbury, known as Bill Hanbury. We are excited because of the experience that he has, because of the success that he has had in many other roles and jurisdictions as it relates to tourism. I said on many times leading up to the implementation of the Bermuda Tourism Authority that we want to find someone who has had success in turning jurisdictions around. We all know the state of Bermuda tourism, and we know the potential of Bermuda tourism. And we want to find someone who can maximize that potential. And we know that Bill has done so in 4 other capacities. Most notably in my mind is when he was in charge of DC destinations from 2001 until 2009 and has made that destination one of the premier destinations in the world. And so we have one of the best. And we said all along, David, that we wanted to get the best, especially right now as we are launching the BTA. We believe that we have done that, and we're very excited about that. So it is with pleasure that I can introduce to you formally the new Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Bill Hanbury.
Minister, thank you, and everybody, thanks for being here this morning. I mean, I'm going to try to be as informal as possible. Not easy to do with a whole bunch of cameras, but I'm very delighted that they put this confidence in me, and I'm happy to be here. It's a great honor for me to be working for the Bermuda Tourism Authority and working in concert with the minister and the chairman, and really in an effort to create jobs and improve the economic situation that exists in Bermuda today for the tourism economy. This is not an easy position. It is a very challenging job, and I think I need everybody's help on the island to assure that we're successful. I even need the media's help, and you don't have to give me any special considerations, but I think it's important that we all, as the people of Bermuda, work very, very hard at assuring that the tourism economy turns around. I also understand that I'm not from Bermuda, by the way. I'm an American citizen, and I'm going to be very respectful of the people of Bermuda, and I'm going to listen. I'm going to learn quickly, and I'm going to take as much advice and counsel as I can from the minister, from government, from the private sector, from our employees, and from the people of Bermuda. And I think that'll be part of hopefully a successful tenure here. I think it's obvious to everyone that tourism in Bermuda must improve. There has been a 30-year decline of tourism in Bermuda, and we're here to turn that around. And I'm enthusiastic about that. This job for me is really about creating economic activity and putting people to work. Even in the paper today, there was a story in the Royal Gazette about thousands of younger people that are unemployed or could potentially be unemployed as they come out of school. I believe that the hospitality industry can do great things to solve those problems, and that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to do that in concert with the minister and with the chairman, and I'm energized and excited about that. First and foremost, the Tourism Authority is going to be a marketing, product development, and experience company. It's not going to be a bureaucratic entity. We're going to be nimble, we're going to be lean, we're going to be entrepreneurial, and I think more than anything else, we're going to be results oriented. And Our employees are going to be held accountable to results, and I think that's going to be really part of our successes as we go forward. I also want to tell you that I'm going to be available to you. I believe that you have to be as transparent as possible with the media, and the media has to be a partner to you. So when you call, I'm going to be available. And the only time things will be out of bounds is when we're talking about personnel issues or legal issues that aren't appropriate to be in the media. But other than that, we're going to be as transparent as possible. I had a chance to read the National Tourism Policy, or the Tourism Plan, and I think it's spot on. It's not going to be easy to create thousands of jobs that the minister and the premier have assured the country we're going to do, but I think the real challenge is to execute against that plan, and we're building a world-class team here as we recruit some outstanding individuals, people of Bermuda, and so also some folks that will come here from other countries. But we are building a world-class team, and I'm excited about that. We intend to be very sensitive to diversity and inclusiveness, and we also intend to assure that Bermudians have priority on jobs in this organization, and that the face of this organization will be the face of Bermuda. I think that's so fundamental to our success. I want to take a minute or so. I know you guys have my resume, but I just want to take a couple minutes and maybe highlight some things that aren't said on the resume. The minister mentioned it. I've been involved in 4 turnarounds. The United Way of the National Capital Area, one of the largest nonprofits in America. I was the CEO of that organization in a time of real crisis, in a time of challenge for an iconic brand in the United States. And I think we did a commendable job as a team there to rebuild the credibility of the United Way. The minister mentioned Destination DC. Washington, D.C. today is one of the preeminent one of the preeminent destinations in the world, both in the U.S. and across the globe. It competes with London, Paris, Rome, Tokyo, Moscow, and we actually built that entity. We built it from scratch. I was the first employee of Destination DC, and I felt really good about the work that we did there, particularly the work around 9/11. When the planes crashed into the World Trade Center and into the Pentagon and into a field in Pennsylvania, the tourism economy in Washington, D.C. completely tanked. There was actually a moment of time in October of 2001 when we had 27,000 people out of work in the hotels and restaurants in Washington, D.C. And our organization led the economic recovery, successfully led the economic recovery after 9/11. So I don't think there's too many things that the minister and the chairman can throw at me that I haven't seen before. I would suggest to you that 9/11 was a defining moment in my career, and I actually will tell you that at one point I once walked into a news conference with the mayor. We had about 60 cameras in the room and almost 200 media representatives wanting to know how we were going to rebuild the economy after 9/11. I also had a very good experience in Milwaukee, running the Convention and Tourism Corporation there, in another great U.S. city, and in Hilton Head, which is actually a competitor of Bermuda in some respects. I was the president of the Chamber of Commerce there, and we're in a very big rebuilding mode while I was there. I'm a marketing guy, first and foremost. I'm not a bureaucrat. I'm not a government guy. I'm a person who comes from a very strong marketing and communications background, and that will drive everything that I do. I'm going to live the brand. I have pretty white legs right now, but I'm going to be wearing Bermuda shorts, and I'm going to try to match up on some of the socks that some of my colleagues have here. But I look forward to living the brand, and in all honesty, my wife also, who is moving here, will look forward to living the brand. We will become very involved in this community. We already love it, and we wouldn't be here if we didn't desperately want to be here and have a chance to represent the country in what is a very, very important opportunity. I believe I'm a consensus builder and a collaborator and somebody that can be pretty candid and honest. And I think perhaps most importantly what I bring to this effort is a real understanding of the market. I do understand what drives tourism in the globe, and that the importance of technology, the importance of digital applications and online applications, that it's a constantly evolving marketplace, and we need to be on top of it at every turn. And I plan to do that. And I guess to conclude, and I'll turn it back to the minister and chairman, but this is a capstone event for me from a career perspective. It was not what I had expected to do, but I'm delighted to be doing it, and I'm excited by it and energized. And I will tell you that this is a job I won't be in forever. I do believe that we need to find great talent on Bermuda that can eventually do this job. So my plan is to evolve a successor and mentor a successor or a group of potential successors quickly within this organization, so that at some point I can turn this job over to Bermudians, or to a Bermudian who can actually do this at a world-class level that's required for Bermuda to really compete on this incredible global marketplace that we find ourselves in. So I don't know how informal that was, but I'm again glad to meet you folks and delighted to be here, and I'll turn it back to the chairman and the minister.
Great, thank you, Bill. In fact, why don't we invite everybody in and actually turn it into the briefing in the sort of comfortable and informal side, since certainly keep the cameras going, with some chairs over here, and kind of make it sort of a round table when you get through, or? Yeah, good. Well, anybody else out there? Or? Yeah. Sorry? He's young, you can
And I
stand.
like his
Okay.
Bermuda shorts. So.
Sure. Okay, so we were going to open it really for questions and feedback. I wanted to distribute a release that I think is important to all of you. In fact, if you could take it and just spread it around everybody. And it stands around a request that was made yesterday for the salary and benefit details and packages of the CEO. And that release is self-explanatory. If you turn it over to the back page, you'll see that we're making the statement there that we do not believe that we should disclose any contractual details of any BTA employees. Don't really want to discuss it today. The meat and potatoes is in the first page. We think it's critical to Bermuda and to the organization. You'll see the outlined reasons as to why we shouldn't do it. And we'd really like to spend our time today on the 99.9% of issues that relate to tourism going forward, and that's what the CEO is here for. So why don't we open it up to any questions, comments related to Bill and his arrival, and the floor is yours.
I have a question, and Mr. Hanbury's probably answered it already. But I know you've hit the ground running. What do you see as the most challenging aspect of the job?
Well, a couple things around that. First of all, it is a magnificent product. When you think about it as a product or as an experience, Bermuda already is a magnificent product and one of the preeminent destinations in the world. And our number one challenge is to let the world know about that. And so that I believe that if you ask me for one particular thing, I believe it's the marketing and sales of Bermuda to the world. I realize that there's some fixes to be had on product and experiences, and those are important. As a matter of fact, we'll be working on some of those today in a conference that we're doing. But the success of Bermuda will be driven by how well we market ourselves to the world, and that's why it's so important that we build a great team that has expertise both from Bermuda and from other global players that can be brought to the table. Yeah.
Have you decided on a target market yet? Maybe I'm a bit ahead of myself, but do you have any idea of Bermuda's target market?
It's a great question, and I think I use this statistic that I think is very important. The United States is our number one market. Everybody knows that. And in the United States today, there are almost 10 million families that have $1 million in net assets. By 2020, that number will be over 20 million. So in the United States, as there's a change and evolution in assets from parents to children, assets are going up in the United States. So the number of wealthy individuals in the United States will double in the next 6 years. That's quite extraordinary. And in many respects, Bermuda is a luxury product. I really believe that we need to go to the luxury marketplace and do whatever we can to encourage people and spur people in that particular segment, because so much of that matches up with the products that we have on the ground. I also would say to you that we have to build products that can go to a wider swath of the marketplace too, so that people so that we can make Bermuda perhaps more affordable to individuals. Which is the most important? I'm not sure yet, but I think certainly you want to start on the luxury segment because so much of what we do is there. But I'd love to see us also expand the breadth and scope of the marketplace.
Mr. Hanbury, the $64,000 question, when can we expect to see some results?
Yeah, it's a great question. They've only asked me this about 20 different times. So I do think within the next 3 to 6 months, you're going to see some results. I think you're going to start to see some clicks up on hotel occupancy and on Bermuda's exposure to the world. And I think that can be accomplished by doing some things that are perhaps fundamental to what the marketplace demands, particularly around digital applications, social media. I don't think we're hitting on all 8 cylinders there, as they would say in the United States. We have a lot of 8-cylinder cars. I think we can do much better in that arena, and I think doing better in that arena early on will actually give us some early wins and will affect the economy in the first year of my tenure here. You're going to see some improvements there. I also think that media affairs is critically important to Bermuda. We're probably not maximizing the value of the media, and again, I look at the product and I think to myself, oh my goodness, what an extraordinary place. We need to get more media here. We need to get more media to cover it. I think those are early wins for us that will impact the economy almost right away.
Do you see any parallels between your past experiences, whether it be D.C., Milwaukee, or Hilton Head, and the current situation?
Well, we're starting from scratch. I'm answering my own phone and typing my own memos, but no, there are some real similarities, particularly with Destination DC. Destination DC, when I first got there, was the merger of a government entity and the Convention and Visitors Bureau into a new entity, a quasi-private public entity called Destination DC. And I literally was the first employee, signed the charter. The first day I was there, I signed the company's charter with the chairman. And we literally built that from scratch. It was a very, very difficult process because there were unhappy people about it moving out of government. Does this sound familiar in some respects? About it moving out of government and becoming a private entity. And so I had to fight that some of the negativity around it becoming a private entity. Again, it's similar to what's happening here. But at the end of the day, performance is the only thing that's important. And I believe that my tenure and the organization's tenure will be judged by performance. So in 3 months, 6 months, if you're not seeing some significant improvements or at least some real trends towards improvements, you need to call us on it. And we need to be accountable for that. I think you're going to see a different kind of outcome and much more emphasis on performance than perhaps there was when it was part of government. And that's no criticism of all of the previous condition, but I believe that we're going to be more sensitive to performance.
DC is a town that's built on networking. Do you have any plans to tap into your existing networking in DC?
There's no question about it. DC is the center of the association world in America. There are many, many groups, many conferences, symposiums, seminars that are hosted by Washington, D.C.-based associations and other kinds of nonprofit entities that I believe could easily be relocated to Bermuda. And so we're going to put some emphasis, some sales emphasis and marketing emphasis on Bermuda in Washington, D.C.
Mr. Hanbury, should Bermuda legalize gaming?
That's a terrific question, and I'm actually going to leave that up to the minister to answer that.
But from a tourism perspective.
From a tourism perspective, I don't believe it's a silver bullet in some way. I think it can be helpful. It can expand our tourism offerings. It can be in certain niches. It can be valuable. I don't think it is a cure-all, and I think the minister and I actually have had some conversation around this. I think he would suggest the same thing, but I do believe that it ought to be fully vetted, and if it is going to afford additional economic activity for Bermuda, I think, and if it's going to create jobs, I believe that it ought to be fully investigated and eventually supported. Yes,
Your
sir.
own marketing style, you sort of have men that are more creative, and you have men that are more strategic and statistical based. Are you a creative guy, or are you the kind of guy that, the more boring, group discussions sort of guy? How are we going to look? How is our tourism campaign going to look?
Yeah, I think it's. I would suggest to you that the creative side of my brain pretty much dominates, and I'm not somebody that wants to be totally driven by the numbers. I believe that you got to have a sense for the market. I have a reverence for the market. I really do believe that you must put your ear on the ground and really listen to what the market is telling you, and then respond to what the market says. That's not always about numbers. That's always not about, let's play it by the book. It's about being entrepreneurial and truly creative. And as you go look at the definition of creative, I think that's. And I'm not the youngest guy in the world, but I also think I've stayed very much in tune with technology changes. That's what's actually why I've been successful for so long, is that I've embraced the big marketing changes that have taken place that you guys are all aware of these days. If you don't embrace it, you're destined to fail. And I think it's one of the reasons why these guys thought that I was the right person for this job, because they want to embrace these new marketing techniques and the technology that's driving the industry forward today. And by the way, that doesn't require huge investments. That requires carburetor adjustments on what we're investing. So I think that's going to be important to us.
And do you, in the world of tourism marketing, USP, unique selling proposition, is reigns king, because why go somewhere if you can go somewhere for the exact same thing? Do you have an idea of what Bermuda's unique selling point is?
Yeah, it's a great question, and one that I don't have a full answer for that yet. I think if I honestly said to you, here's the answer for that, I wouldn't be candid with you. There's more work that needs to be done to really define the unique selling proposition. The beaches are extraordinary. Obviously, everybody knows that. But I do believe that the culture and the people of Bermuda is something that's actually kind of been lost in what I've seen in recent years from Bermuda. All the focus on beaches is great, but there's a lot of great beaches around the world, by the way, and I would suggest that the people and the culture and digging in on the history of Bermuda probably may be more important, and the experience that is Bermuda actually may be more important than the beaches. So, but that still needs to be better defined. I think we've done some work with our advertising agency around that, and with some of our consultants that have helped us, but more work needs to be done there, and that'll actually define some of how quickly can you get at this. We need to work on that.
A DC Business Journal had reported that you had left the United Way to go into retirement.
Yes.
Is that accurate? And if so, why come
It didn't
out of
last very long, did it, I guess? No, I did leave the United Way, and my intention was to begin to dial back, and that lasted about 30 days before I figured out that I couldn't dial back, that I didn't want to dial back. I'm just being frank with you about it. I have way too much energy to want to go walk my dog around the block every day. I'm just not built like that, and I'm blessed with a great support system with my wife and 3 adult children who think I'm doing something really important. So they've been really supportive of me, and they're very supportive of me being here doing this. I consider myself pretty fit. I'm a serious cyclist, a bike rider, and do a lot of cycling and enjoy that. And so I've kept myself healthy, and so I still have a lot of fire in my belly to want to go do this. And in all honesty, this is the preeminent job in the world for me. I mean, I don't know what else I could do. I couldn't go run another convention bureau or another chamber of commerce in the United States. It just, I was, and not that I'm past that, because those are great, challenging jobs, but this isn't, it doesn't get any better than this from a career perspective. This is an extraordinary country, extraordinary people, extraordinary leaders. And so you can tell I'm pretty fired up about this. I'm not faking this, by the way. This is for real. I think this is fantastic.
Just a real basic question. How is the authority funded? Is it funded with public funds?
It is
Taxpayer?
funded with funded,
So
yes.
as a follow-up, and I know you made the statement, you don't want to talk about this, but how is it that the salary, which is funded from taxpayer money, how is that not a public record? How should that not be? Explain to me why that should not be. I mean, I read the statement.
I was
but
about to say, if you read the statement.
Right.
And you are, so I
I'm
don't.
Danny McDonald.
Danny McDonald,
Yeah,
okay. If you
Board
read the
of
statement, I think it's very evident on that page as
Right.
to why we think it's important that it not be disclosed. And I don't know what I can answer more than that.
Well, I mean,
Minister and I are on the same page as that.
do you feel
And,
like you being accountable to the taxpayers for funding this very important position? I mean, this is a very important part of Bermuda industry. Should they not know? Should the whole contract not be released because of that?
Well, our position is that this is not the first entity that is funded by the government that is managed privately, and that there's a respect of those private relationships. You have the Bermuda Hospitals Board, you have the Bermuda Monetary Authority, you have the BDA, which is the Bermuda Business Organization. And so we are moving towards, hopefully, full autonomy, and we have said from the beginning that we want, within the first 3 to 5 years, for this entity to be a fully private funded entity. And so we have to conduct ourselves in that matter now. It is managed privately, and we're going to respect that management, and we don't think that it's appropriate that the contractual details of not just the CEO, but of all of the employees be open to public knowledge. And so, although, yes, we understand your question, and we understand the basis of your question, that at this stage the government is providing the majority, not all, but the majority of the funding to the BTA. But because it is managed privately, we're going to allow it to retain some of that protection.
Is there not an inherent hypocrisy? I mean, there was a lot of talk about transparency earlier. This is one of the first press conferences. This is the first press conference with the CEO. Is there not inherent hypocrisy about talking about transparency on the one hand and not divulging the salary of the CEO, which is funded from taxpayer money on the other hand?
That's something that you can derive from it. Our position, I think, is clear, and I think our position, and it's not novel. This is the situation that exists with other entities with similar structures. And we think that it is appropriate that individuals like Mr. Hanbury and others have that protection. And going forward, we want to be able to attract, whether it's Bermudian or non-Bermudian, top quality employees and executives. And in order to do that, this is not a public entity. This is a semi-private, moving towards a fully private entity, and we're going to allow it to operate in that manner.
Danny,
I'm just going to say, you could add to the argument, if you really read these again, you could add to that argument by saying you could actually end up hurting the goals. You could end up hurting the goals because we don't get the best people that would want to come here because their salaries have to be disclosed. Or we are competing with other jurisdictions. So I think you could make an argument the other way, that by doing it, you're hurting the organization.
And if I can just add to that, just to answer the question, we stay within the parameters of what is the norm in the industry. And so, just so you know, in order to get individuals like Mr. Hanbury, I think that he has certainly satisfied, the anticipation that we have given the press in terms of his credentials and how impressive he is. But in order to attract individuals like that, we have to be competitive, but we have remained within the parameters of the industry around the world.
And on that note, I believe it was Mr. Dunkel who said some months ago that you thought that the BTA could be self-funding within a short period of time. Where are we on that?
We've actually started work on that. My goal, and probably raise a few eyebrows, but I would like to see that succeed within 2 years, so that we're self-funding within 2 years.
You saw my eyebrow go up on that.
But we've begun work. We put a committee together on that, and one of the specific responsibilities of Bill will be to pursue that and report back to the board so that we can eliminate that funding from the government. It might be a combination of what currently exists now, but there are new opportunities. Remember, this is a completely different organization, and within the act that the minister put forward, which I've said before, I believe was very bold and courageous, there's independence. There's the ability to borrow money, guarantee loans, invest, own shares. This is a completely different entity that really should be able to stand up and operate on its own, and it will. And I think for that reason, we need to maintain this independence.
One of the things that the chairman and the minister talked to me about during the interview process was exactly this, that we really need to move to where we have complete autonomy from government so that we can be more nimble, more astute in the marketplace, and it's on my priority list. And I made a bit of a joke about it, but it is reality that we are going to work very, very hard to make this completely autonomous from government. I'm not suggesting that will happen overnight, but I think we have an aggressive goal of 2 years, and we're in sync on that goal.
And the government will always be a partner. There will always and should be a minister of tourism. This is the government, and this is the minister that has that vision, that will speak for tourism in the community, will speak for tourism in Parliament, will lobby for tourism in cabinet. We need all of that. This is a partnership. It isn't an elimination, it's a partnership.